Hello friends, Mary here. Would you like to make changes in your life, but you're finding it really hard to get started? Do you think about change and then that little voice in your head says it's impossible as climbing a mountain on roller skates in a storm? Here are 5 reasons why it's so hard, and for each reason I'm going to give you a positive affirmation so that you can start changing your inner voice today. So let's go. Number 1. Changing your life begins with admitting that you are hurt. This is the first step, and unfortunately it's not an easy one. Just admitting that you were or are hurt can be very scary, because it means taking a good look at painful past events or painful current events. In many cases, those events will still be causing you pain right now. So it's not surprising that the process can be very lengthy and take years in many cases, because it's emotional, upsetting, painful and potentially triggering. So your subconscious may have, quite understandably, chosen to bury the memory of those events to protect you and keep you functioning in everyday life. Ironically, it's the burying of those memories that can slow down or even prevent your healing and growth. Not only that, it's possible that you've made just the thought of making any changes in your life bigger and more difficult than it actually is. And there are good reasons for that. First, you need to know that this is completely normal. Many people get annoyed and frustrated with themselves at this point and may drop any plans for change. The struggle to face up to painful events is a very real one, and you may feel that you're weak for not facing up to your truth so that you can move forward. You are absolutely, categorically not weak, but you're probably feeling overwhelmed, so your subconscious steps in again to try and protect you, which in turn makes it even harder. There's another way that you may be magnifying the upcoming struggle. Let's take a moment to see how that may happen. When you feel your need for making changes, do you think, "Oh, my life sucks, I have to change it"? Or do you think, "My life sucks, I have to change it for my partner, my children, my mother, my father, my siblings, work colleagues"? Add as many to the list here as you like. Oh, by the way, you are on that list, but probably right at the end, especially if you're a mother. So you carry on trying to ignore the huge toll that your current way of living is taking on you, until you inevitably get to that point of desperation again, and you think about changing again, and you think about all of the people who you need to change for again, and then you're right back in front of that mountain, wondering for the umpteenth time whether to attempt the climb. Except this time the mountain is covered with ice, the wheels are coming off your roller skates, and there are hailstones as big as golf balls in that icy hurricane that's whipping and stinging your face. Because you know that, just like last time, you'll glimpse the task ahead and see it as just too enormous to tackle. So you revert to the negative but very common and familiar pattern of beating yourself up and feeling a failure. And because you just can't see a way out, you add that latest feeling of failure to the rest of your struggle, which is getting more difficult every day. If this cycle is repeated enough times, you may reach the point where you stop even thinking about the possibility of change, because it's just too much, and now your normal difficult day-to-day struggle is actually the less painful option. Except you're here, so you haven't given up altogether. Here's your first positive affirmation. I have not had failures in my life, I have only had experiences to learn from. Number 2. Are you putting off making changes because you're scared of failing? Well, as Tony Robbins says, if you keep doing what you're doing, you'll get what you've always gotten. So if you want things to be different, it's clear that changes do need to be made. But what if you try to make a change and it doesn't work out how you want it to, or how you imagined it would? Well, you simply have another go. If you're a perfectionist, it doesn't quite work like that. If you're a perfectionist, failing at that first attempt would be so devastating that you probably wouldn't try again. Perfectionism is a trait that can spur you on to do amazing things, but it can also be so paralysing that it prevents you from doing anything. Most perfectionists know that the best way to avoid failure is to not do something, Or if you do eventually get started on something, you don't finish it. Because if something isn't finished, then it's not ready to be judged by you or by anyone else, and therefore it can never fail. That sounds very logical, and it is, but the sad downside to that is that if you don't try, you'll never know what you might have been able to achieve. So here are 2 questions for you. Number 1, are you a perfectionist? Put your hand up if you are. Whoa, that's a lot of hands, mine included. Question number 2, are you perfect? Anyone? No one? So why do we waste so much time and energy trying to be something that no one is or will ever be? I'd love to hear your answers in the comments. I'm not going to even suggest that you get rid of your perfectionism. 2 reasons. A, it's a very big subject which we'll look at in another video. And B, it's right to hang on to your perfectionism. If you can make it work for you, you can get amazing results. Amazing results. But, big but, and I cannot lie, if you want to make real changes in your life, you have to learn to live with your perfectionism in a way that doesn't hold you back. So here's a positive affirmation for all us perfectionists. Trying is not failing, it's simply trying and nothing more. The flip side of fear of failing is fear of succeeding, which can hold you back just as much as fear of failing. The problem is that if you succeed at something, you show that you're able to attain a certain level of performance, whether it's at work, home, school. And once you've done that, then the pressure's on to succeed every time. And this can hold you back for 2 main reasons. Reason 1, if you feel that you succeeded by accident more by luck than judgment, then your fear is that everyone will find you out. They'll discover that you're an imposter who can't keep it up and who has no right to reaping any rewards. Or reason 2, if you worked really hard and reached your peak at just the right moment to succeed, then you may be feeling burnt out, exhausted and thoroughly sick to death of whatever it was that you succeeded in. You've got nothing left to give, so the thought of doing more of the same is a genuinely frightening one. And when others want you to capitalise on your success, whether it was accidental or worked for, they will be mystified and frustrated that you're not keen to grab the opportunities that are now on offer. So here's your positive affirmation. You don't have to do it perfectly, you just have to do it. Number 3, are you scared to try and change because you just haven't got the energy? Both fear of failing and fear of success can make you feel really sluggish and lethargic. This is partly due to your negative inner voice, constantly droning on, saying to you, you know you're going to fail, so why even bother to try? Eventually you're just going to feel worn down and exhausted. Your pesky inner voice tells you that you can't cope with life because it's all too much and it's totally overwhelming. At this point in your exhaustion, lethargy steps in to agree with fear, but lethargy's message is slightly different. Lethargy comes disguised as a sympathetic helper. Lethargy says, it's okay, you just need to rest to keep your strength up. These issues will still be here tomorrow, so just for today, lie on the sofa and watch TV. The distraction will make you feel better. There's often junk food, snacks, chocolate or wine involved too, but that's another subject for tackling in the future. So because it's the easier option, and lethargy has given you permission, you obediently head for the sofa, except lethargy doesn't come alone. It brings along a friend who you've met before, guilt. And you're already feeling guilty for not having the strength to start making positive changes, so it's all too easy to add another hefty slug of guilt into the mix. Can you see how easily this can become a downward spiral which gets harder and harder to climb out of? If this situation feels familiar to you, it's possible that you have some level of anxiety or depression, and if you're not already getting help with this, please go and see your doctor. And know that you're not alone. UK government figures show that in early 2021, around 1 in 5 people aged 16 and over experienced moderate to severe depression. That's a whopping 21% of everyone in Great Britain, and it was an increase of 19% from November 2020, just 3 months before. And of course the pandemic hasn't helped at all. Before COVID, 10% of over 16s had depression, so that figure has more than doubled. There is a simple and effective tool that can help you with negative thoughts: affirmations. Repeating positive affirmations can help your brain to replace old negative pathways of thought with more healthy positive ones. The key to success with affirmations is sheer repetition, lots of repetitions, and say them with as much conviction as you can muster. I know from personal experience that if you're suffering a prolonged bout of anxiety or depression, it can be really difficult to even commit to get out of bed every day. But even a few repetitions can lead to an upswing in your mood. If you can catch that upswing and add in more repetitions, it'll strengthen your positivity, leading to a cycle of upswing equals more repetitions equals upswing equals more repetitions, and so on. So with that in mind, here are 3 positive affirmations. Choose the one that feels the best fit for you and say it out loud at least twice a day, more if you can. And when that first affirmation becomes almost automatic, add in another one. But don't put pressure on yourself. Go at your own pace. Here are the 3 affirmations. I welcome positive changes. The darkness is in the past and I'm ready for a new beginning. I forgive myself and I don't blame myself for my current situation. Number 4. Are you scared to change because you're worried that you won't have anything to say? Feeling this way is much more common than you would think, so let's unpack it. First of all, do you have anything to say right now? There are 2 likely situations here, and in both of them you don't have anything to say, but for different reasons. So here's scenario 1. Do you feel angry and resentful that no one ever wants to hear what you have to say? Maybe that's one of the reasons why you want to make changes in your life. Or scenario number 2. Do you feel like you never have a say in anything, apart from what you're cooking for dinner? Do you even think about not having a say? If others speak over you or for you enough times, eventually you let them go right ahead and keep quiet. And if you have no real input for any length of time, it becomes easy to stay in that quiet slot. So that after a while, the thought of having to voice an opinion on anything can be very intimidating. If you're currently in this destructive comfort zone, it's little wonder that you feel afraid that you will have nothing to say when your life finally changes. Notice I said when your life changes, not if. But change doesn't happen overnight, it's an ongoing process. And as you start to change, you will start to look at your life differently. You will remember who you were and rediscover who you are. You're still there and you always have been, you're just on hold due to your current situation. Think back. Did you used to have a voice, opinions, something to add to the conversation? All of that will come back and you will have plenty to say. Here is your positive affirmation. I have my own unique voice and I deserve to be heard. That reminds me, I have something to say. If you're enjoying this video and you're finding it helpful, please give it a thumbs up so that more people will be able to see it and we can grow our Heal, Grow, Love community. Thank you so much. Now back to the video. If you don't have a voice for any length of time, then you might become afraid that anything you do say will be banal or boring. Okay, so I have a question. Do you feel like you need to listen to podcasts, read books or watch TV programs to give yourself something worth saying? That's great if you're really interested in the media that you're consuming, but if not, please take that pressure off yourself right now. Let's be real here, a high percentage of what people talk about day to day is banal or boring. Yeah, so did you see so-and-so on TV last night? I know, and I really want to see that new film. What do you fancy for dinner? Pretty banal, huh? Here's another example. When you're out with friends or visiting relatives, just take some time to observe the dynamics of the group. There's always someone who takes the lead, who isn't afraid of speaking up and letting everyone know exactly what they think. This can get old very quickly. There are always some people who just talk amongst themselves and exclude themselves from the group, but that also means that they're excluding the group from them. Not very sociable. And there's always someone who doesn't say very much. Do you think less of them for that? No, because everyone else in the group picks up the slack, and they're not doing such a great job themselves. One-on-one conversations are just the same. Listen to your partner, your parents, your children. How much of what they say is fascinating, informative, interesting, intellectually challenging? Not much. It's just real life. Does that take the pressure off a bit? I do hope so. Just don't forget that everybody is wondering what everybody else thinks of them all the time. So don't wait to feel as if you're right before you say something. Whatever you do say will be right, and the more you do it, the easier it will get. Here's a positive affirmation that will help. I am not afraid to communicate with people because my input has value. And number 5. Are you worried that the life changes you dream of won't turn out to be worth all of the effort and disruption to the life you're living right now? This is your comfort zone talking, the part of us that we all have that just wants peace and quiet and an easy life. It's just trying to convince you that your situation is a case of better the devil you know. So the more you think about making changes, the more your comfort zone will feel under threat, and you'll start having thoughts like, my life's not that bad, I can keep going for a while yet. Okay, so I hate my job, who doesn't? At least I have a job. My friends keep telling me that my relationship with my partner is toxic and that I deserve better, but they don't know him or her like I do. You'll start to convince yourself that things aren't as bad as they really are, because to make any sort of changes means heading into the unknown, and to you that may seem more frightening than what you're going through at the moment. Whatever your difficult issue is, you've learnt to live with it and created a balance that you can scrape by with, however fragile that balance is. You know that making any changes will upset that balance, so you have to believe that any positive change you gain is going to be worth the fallout from losing that fragile balance. At this point, you may feel as if you're at a crossroads in your life, and you know that whichever way you choose to go will really affect your future. And what if you make changes and things don't get better? This is when worry kicks in and keeps you where you are, treading water, still being miserable but unsure what to do about it. You may reach a point where this relentless stress starts to cause health issues, such as not sleeping, sleeping too much, self-medicating with food, cigarettes, alcohol and/or drugs from a doctor or a guy down the pub. You've reached the point where you can't convince yourself anymore that things aren't that bad. The state of your health will force you to make changes, whether you trust that those changes will work out for you or not. You can avoid this turmoil by being honest with yourself about where you are right now. If you don't make any changes, where do you see yourself in a year's time, in 5 years' time? If friends and family have been nagging you about your situation, take that into account too. Here are 5 affirmations to help you along. It's okay for me to say no to others and yes to myself. Today I will do my best and that's good enough. Today I have a clear mind and a strong heart. I can feel that I'm getting better and better every day. I'm not perfect, and that's okay because no one is. What scares you most about change? If you feel able, please share it in the comments section below because it might help somebody else, and we're trying to build a community here. So if you'd like to subscribe to the tribe, you know what to do. Thank you. Bye friends. Love, light and peace to everyone. Until next time, namaste.